What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix that you have experienced? I was driving on a small 2-lane highway that feeds to a large freeway. I passed a car with a very distinct sticker on the back window and matching license plate. Pointed it out to my wife and kept driving. About 40 minutes later, I'm on the freeway, driving fast as I tend to do, and I passed the exact same vehicle. We did not stop for gas or anything, but I passed the same car twice. This has happened to me twice in the last 2 years. I saw the outline of a person at the top of the stairs shift weight and put a hand on a railing in broad daylight in a room full of people. A few seconds later I saw my mom appear at the same spot at the top of the stairs and mimic the exact motion filling in the outline. Many years ago I was looking for a VHS I wanted to watch that I knew we had recorded. When I finally found the VHS and went to play it, it was a completely different movie, as if someone recorded over it. Okay, cool. That happens. Except some time later I wanted to watch it again and found the VHS. Inserted it, and it played the original movie. The one I had tried to watch the first time years ago. I am 100% confident it happened, and there is zero reason anyone would have re-recorded the original movie over it. Years ago, radio station was running a guess the next song we are going to play after the news competition. Zero clues. It wasn't just the top 40 or even any song that year. It could be any song ever, and I knew what it was. I remember telling my dad it will be Hey Jude by the Beatles, and it was. Seeing his face 20 minutes later in total disbelief when it came on is something I'll never forget, and I've never been able to predict anything since. Though I have had déjà vu, a few feeling I've done all this before and know what's coming. When I was younger, I had a pet turtle. When I woke up one morning and went to my kitchen, I saw my turtle scuttling across the floor. My turtle was still in his aquarium when I scooped him up and took a closer look. We don't know where it came from, and my parents didn't purchase me another turtle. I went blind for a second. I was looking around science class and all of a sudden it was pitch black. Pure darkness. I remember blinking to test if I had closed my eyes. Thankfully it came right back before I could panic. I still worry sometimes that it was pre-warning me of my future and one day I am just gonna wake up blind. About 20 years ago a friend called me early on a Sunday morning to check I was okay since she had a dream I died unexpectedly. I was totally fine and we laughed it off. The following Sunday, she died unexpectedly. When I was a kid playing in my room with my friend, a glowing perfectly still red dot appeared on the wall near the door. The window was covered. No laser pointers in the room, and no family members around to be pranking us. We spent a couple minutes trying to figure out where it was coming from. And then it disappeared, never to return. To this day we never figured out what it was or where it could have come from. Too bad neither of us thought to put our hand over it to follow it back to its source. Well, I always put my remote somewhere on my bed. I look 5 seconds later it's gone, and then seconds later it's back. Me and my sister had this stuffed rabbit toy which we were throwing around, and it fell behind the wardrobe and we never saw it again. Still had the hat it came with, so we knew we weren't imagining things. Never had any other weird experiences apart from that. I was listening to a popular radio show. As the show progressed I was thinking, oh, I remember this from a few months ago. Wonder why there is a rerun. Each segment that came up I knew what was going to be said and where it was going. I finally looked online to see why there was a rerun, but it wasn't a rerun, it was live. And there was no way that could have heard it before. It was very creepy. I have a distinct memory from when I was in youth detention around early 1984 Quebec. In the dining hall we were talking music when someone asked me what the lyrics to Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage. Translated to in French. That song wasn't released until 1995. I woke up one morning and noticed it was brighter outside than usual and thought to myself, oh no, I'm going to be late. I then proceeded to turn my alarm off. Well, when I looked back outside, it was pitch black and just sat there and scratched my head. Still can't figure out what I saw or where the light would have come from to make me believe the sun was starting to rise. I was at an all-day class in a new part of town. For lunch I looked up food near me and ordered tacos. I get there, the lady who works there immediately gives me my order. I ask her how she knew I ordered the tacos and she said I always go in there. Apparently someone who looks like me, with my same name, also always orders the same thing I just ordered. But I'd never been in there before. I keep getting told by random strangers that they feel like they know me from somewhere. Or I'm being asked if I have a sister. I guess I have a face type that's very common here or so. One of the strangest ones happened as a child when I was walking to my best friend's house and I felt that he was going to get hit by a car while he was riding his bike. When I got to his house, he had been hit by a car while he was riding his bike. That one never left me. I once played charades with a guy the first had met, but had never really spoken to one-on-one before. And he and I were on a team against my roommate and another friend. We ended up having a weird Jedi mind meld thing and it really freaked our friends out and us. We basically could read each other's mind and got to the point where we knew the answer before the other person acted out the words. It was very freaky. I never really saw or spoke to him again after that night, though we did end the evening by hooking up because we had to at that point. My sister is really into ancestral hunting and has managed to trace our family back to the early 1800s on both sides. She was looking for some distant relatives on Facebook based of some of the surnames she had come across of people who had married into our family, and she found my doppelganger. What's weird about it is that the guy had the surname that my sister was searching, but they didn't actually have any relation to us by blood. What about when one of your socks disappears into the abyss, never to be seen again? And then you're stuck with the one sock. When I was a kid, in the early 90s, while at my friend's house we wanted to play Nintendo NES. Probably Super Mario Brothers. Or Kung Fu. Maybe Top Gun. He pressed power. Ghosts and Goblins started up. He turned it off because that game is way too difficult for a 10-year-old. When he lifted the cover, no cartridge. Ghosts and Goblins was a rental, and they returned it the day before. He tried powering the NES back on, but it never happened again. I had just replaced a couple of burned-out bulbs in a condo I was renting. I was telling my wife what I had just done, and then said, but if that light above the stairs goes out, I'm going to have maintenance do that one. At that moment we both looked at the light, and at that exact instant that light went out. We still bring this up from time to time. I was drinking a soda one day, set it down on the table, and when I picked it up and took a drink, it was all water in the can. I was the only one home. It weirds me out still to this day. When I was about 4, I rode with my father and grandfather one morning to a nearby city. We had to cross over a wide river on the way. Dad said I freaked out on the bridge and said something bad was going to happen. He watched the local news that evening, and they reported that an 18-wheeler had lost control and plunged off the bridge that afternoon. Every time I bought weed, the dealer would get high as shit and have the exact same conversation with his mate. Literally, he would say, "You remember that time in school when MRX gave us detention?" One time I got high with them and could barely open my eyes, just listen to their story for what felt like 5 hours. Was super funny and horrible. He's probably having the same convo right now.